Hello. In this video, the full process of creating a reproduction of Ivan Shishkin's famous painting, Morning in a Pine Forest, using oil paints, but in a modern, bright interpretation. Along the way will be tips and tricks based on both practice and professional research in oil painting. If you love oil painting, hit like, subscribe, and prepare your brushes and paints. Before we start, a quick reminder about preparing the canvas. Make sure it is properly primed and dry. This is the foundation for a lasting work. Better to use a white-toned primer to keep warmth in the highlights across the composition. Begin with the background, which sets the morning mood. Mix yellow ochre with a touch of white titanium and cadmium lemon. It sets the morning atmosphere, soft, warm light filtering through the tree crowns to keep the feeling of morning mist. Softly blend the paint with a dry, soft brush. Once the background has dried a little, we move on to the trees that are closer to the viewer. For the trunks, use a mix of burnt umber and ultramarine with a touch of ochre and orange. This gives a deep, rich brown. Paint vertical silhouettes of the trunks and larger branches. First, we outline the general shape of the trunk and then add shadows along the edges and highlights to build the composition. The trunk always is modeled on the principle of a cylinder. One side is illuminated, the other is darkened. Plan for this painting is step by step. We'll move from the light background tones and painting the pine forest to working in detail on the bear family, and finally highlighting the details in close-up. An important principle for atmospheric perspective: keep distant objects lighter and less detailed. Save the sharper details for the foreground to create depth. For the foliage, pure green looks flat. Add ochre, cadmium yellow, or ultramarine to it, and you will get a variety of shades. As in nature, use different green tones, a deep, dark green for shadows, and a yellowish green for highlights. Remember the rule: dark to light, build tone first, then add detail. By the way, this masterpiece, Morning in a Pine Forest, was painted in 1889 and is now kept at the State Tretyakov Gallery in Moscow. Fun fact: the bears were not painted by Shishkin himself, but by his friend, artist Konstantin Savitsky. However, collector Pavel Tretyakov insisted the signature remain only Shishkin's, since he was the true master of the forest landscape. Don't forget, step back from the canvas sometimes, like 1 to 3 meters away, to check your colors. It gives you a more objective sense of the composition. Now define the old broken trunk where the bear cubs sit with mixed colors. It should look massive enough to carry the weight of the scene, and at the same time look bright and well detailed. In nature, tree trunks are never monochromatic. Observe the color transitions from the edges to the center. The trunk is covered with textured strokes to convey the texture of the bark. The technique of depicting trees and foliage in oil painting is based on sequence, from general to particular, from mass to detail, from dark to light. Mastering these principles allows the artist not only to copy nature, but also to create convincing artistic images while maintaining an academic basis. The trunks in the forest create a rhythm. Their position and tilt set the dynamics. Verticals create calm, diagonals create movement. It is important to avoid symmetry. Nature is asymmetrical. The silhouette of the first bear doing with brown paint. Here's a key technique. Use broad strokes first to mark the main form and light shadow, then gradually break the shape down with smaller strokes of ochre. This way, you preserve volume while keeping texture. Detail the greenery around bears, a very significant stage, since it ties the animals into their environment. Here, work with fine brushes, adding small branches and leaves, and hints of light breaking through. Use different shades of green, from olive to bright lime, to create depth and the play of light. Part of the crown is painted translucently with holes between the strokes. This creates the feeling of light passing through the foliage. Again, start with the main shape, then light and shadow. Next, paint the silhouette of the mother bear in brown, keeping her posture and size proportional to the cubs. It is the balance of constructive drawing and pictorial freedom that creates a convincing image. For fur, use a series of directional brush strokes, following the form of the body, varying the thickness of the lines. Errors in the direction of the smears destroy the anatomical authenticity. And finally, the last bear. His pose and placement should harmonize with the figures already on the canvas, as we are doing reproduction of painting. So we need to keep every small component, especially on bears. Tip: when you draw animal, don't paint every hair. Think about mass and direction. Detailing is appropriate only in accents, paws, muzzle, illuminated areas. Combine techniques, broad strokes for mass, plus small ones for local pieces. Thank you for watching. you enjoyed this lesson, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Write in the comments which paintings you'd like me to recreate next. I hope you feel inspired to paint. Let's make together some beauty of art.